Have you ever said something in the heat of the moment, only to regret it seconds later? A careless word, an emotional reaction, a response you wish you could take back. What if, instead of speaking, you had chosen silence? What if that single moment of restraint could have changed everything? Silence is not just the absence of words. It is power. It is control. It is a weapon that few know how to use. The ancient Stoics mastered it, understanding that true strength comes not from speaking more, but from knowing when not to speak. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest minds in history, wrote, "You always have the power to choose your response. No one can take that from you." Today, in a world where everyone is desperate to be heard, those who know when to stay silent command the greatest respect. They think before they react. They observe before they engage. And in doing so, they gain an advantage that few ever will. In this video, you will learn how the Stoics use silence as a tool for wisdom, influence, and inner peace. You will discover the exact moments when saying nothing is the most powerful response of all. And once you master the skill, you will never handle conflict, criticism, or chaos the same way again. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. The ancient Stoics believed that true strength lies not in how much you say, but in how well you control what you say. To them, silence was not weakness. It was wisdom. It was restraint. It was the mark of a mind that refuses to be ruled by impulse. Stoicism is a philosophy built on discipline, self-control, and the mastery of one's own emotions. It teaches that we cannot control what happens around us, but we can always control how we respond. And sometimes, the most powerful response is no response at all. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and one of the greatest Stoic thinkers, wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." These words remind us that action speaks louder than words, that arguing, defending, or justify ourselves is often unnecessary. The best way to prove something is not through words, but through actions. Epictetus, once a slave who rose to become one of the most respected philosophers of his time, taught that we must master our own reactions. He believed that when someone insults you, when they provoke you, they are testing your ability to remain in control. Responding with silence is not surrender. It is dominance over yourself. Seneca, another great Stoic, advised against engaging in arguments fueled by anger or pride. He warned that when emotions take over, words become weapons and rationality is lost. Instead, he encouraged a deliberate pause, a moment of silence that allows for reflection, clarity, and most importantly, power over one's own mind. In a world where everyone is quick to react, where people speak before they think, silence becomes an advantage. It allows you to observe before engaging, to control your emotions instead of being controlled by them, and to move through life with a sense of calm that cannot be shaken by external chaos. The Stoics understood that silence is not just the absence of speech. It is a tool, a shield, a statement of self-control. And when used wisely, it becomes one of the greatest strengths a person can possess. 9 moments when silence is the best choice. Number 9, when you are unfairly criticized. Criticism is an unavoidable part of life. Whether at work, in personal relationships, or even from strangers, at some point, you will face words that feel unjust, harsh, or completely untrue. The natural reaction is to defend yourself, to explain, to fight back. But what if silence could be a more powerful response? When emotions take over, words can become weapons. A defensive response often escalates the situation, leading to arguments that drain your energy and shift the focus away from the real issue. Instead of clarifying the truth, you end up in a battle of egos, where neither side truly listens. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, had a different approach. He wrote, "If anyone can prove me wrong and show me my mistake, I will gladly change. I seek the truth." This teaches us 2 things. First, if criticism is valid, we should embrace it as a chance to improve. Second, if it is unfair or unfounded, reacting emotionally only gives it more power. The power of silence in the face of criticism. Imagine a scenario at work. You've led a major project, dedicating countless hours to its success. But when presenting the results, your boss publicly criticizes your approach, questioning your decisions in front of the entire team. your first instinct is to push back, to defend yourself. After all, you know how much effort you put in. But before speaking, you pause. You take a breath. Instead of reacting emotionally, you listen. You filter the feedback, separating useful insights from unnecessary negativity. Then, rather than arguing, you acknowledge any valid points, ignore anything that is purely emotional, and continue leading with confidence. Your silence in that moment achieves two things. First, it shows maturity and control, qualities that earn respect. Second, it forces the critic to reflect on their own words. Without resistance, their attack loses power. If their criticism was unfair, others will recognize it for what it was. If it had merit, you now have the space to process it with a clear mind. Lessons from the Stoics. Epictetus, another great Stoic philosopher, taught that we cannot control what others say or do, but we can control how we respond. He advised that when someone insults or criticizes you, imagine the words as an echo in the wind, passing by, never reaching your core. Seneca, a Stoic statesman, warned against engaging in arguments fueled by emotion. He believed that wisdom comes from knowing which battles to fight and which to walk away from. If criticism is unjust, responding to it only brings you down to the level of the attacker. Wise silence is a strategic choice. It maintains your composure. Instead of reacting in anger, you stay calm, making you appear stronger and more collected. It forces the other person to reflect. Without a reaction to feed off, their words lose impact. It gives you time to process. Not all criticism is useless. Pausing allows you to decide if there's something worth considering. It avoids unnecessary conflict. Some arguments are trap, designed to provoke you. Silence keeps you from falling into them. Not every attack deserves your energy. Not every critic deserves your time. When faced with unfair criticism, the Stoic response is simple. Listen, evaluate, and choose silence when words will do more harm than good. Because sometimes the most powerful response isn't to defend yourself. It's to let your actions speak louder than any words ever could. Number 8. When you face vain and arrogant people, there will always be people who seek validation at every opportunity. They boast about their achievements, their status, their influence, not to inspire or uplift others, but to affirm their own sense of superiority. They dominate conversations, exaggerate their successes, and expect admiration in return. But what happens when you refuse to give them the reaction they seek? Silence is the most effective way to neutralize arrogance. When you do not respond, when you do not compete, you remove the fuel that feeds their need for attention. Without validation, without engagement, their words lose impact. Wise silence is powerful against arrogance. When someone constantly talks about their wealth, accomplishments, or social status, most people react in one of three ways. Some try to compete, sharing their own stories to prove they are just as successful. Others challenge the person, trying to bring them back to reality. And then there are those who simply listen, feeling either impressed or annoyed but saying nothing. But the Stoic approach is different. Instead of reacting at all, you remain detached. You do not argue. You do not try to match their achievements with your own. You do not feel the need to prove anything. You acknowledge their word with a polite nod, or perhaps you say nothing at all. A real-world example. Imagine you are at a networking event. A colleague begins to dominate the conversation, speaking loudly about their latest business deal, their expensive new car, or their exclusive travel experiences. Others engage with excitement, trying to impress or keep up with their stories. Some quietly roll their eyes, but still they listen. But you remain silent. You do not challenge them. You do not try to outshine them. You do not let their words affect your sense of worth. Instead, you observe. You recognize that their need to boast does not reflect your reality. Their validation-seeking behavior does not demand your participation. Epictetus, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, offered a profound lesson on this. Do not explain your philosophy. Embody it. True confidence does not need an audience. True wisdom does not require words. Those who are secure in themselves do not announce their greatness. They simply live it. The long-term effect of silence. Over time, people notice who remains composed and who constantly seeks attention. The one who speaks less but listens more earns quiet respect. The one who does not feel the need to impress is often the one who commands the most admiration. When you remain silent in the face of arrogance, you make a statement without saying a word. You show that you are not easily influenced by ego-driven displays. You demonstrate that your value does not come from external validation, but from inner strength. And in the end, those who truly hold power are not the ones who seek admiration, but the ones who no longer need it. Number 7, when you are angry, anger is one of the most dangerous emotions. It rises quickly, takes control of your thoughts, and pushes you to say things that, in a calmer state, you would never say. It distorts reality, turning small disagreements into major conflicts and words into weapons. In moments of anger, it feels natural to respond immediately, to defend yourself, to prove your point, to release frustration. But once the anger fades, what is left? Regret, broken relationships, wounds that words have caused and cannot be undone. The Stoics understood this well. They knew that anger is not strength. It is a loss of control. And they believe that the best response to anger is often silence. Seneca, the great Stoic philosopher, warned, "Anger is a wind that blows out the lamp of the mind." When anger takes over, logic disappears. Rational thought is replaced by impulse. And in that state, no decision, no reaction, no word spoken will be wise. The power of silence in moments of anger. Imagine a familiar situation, a disagreement with a close family member. Maybe it starts over something small, a misunderstanding, a careless comment, an old frustration brought back to the surface. Voices rise, tension builds. Then, suddenly, a harsh statement is made. Something personal, something meant to hurt. And in that moment, you feel the fire inside you. Your instincts tell you to retaliate, to respond with words just as sharp. But instead of reacting, you stop. You take a deep breath. You say nothing. That silence changes everything. It prevents escalation. It removes fuel from the fire. It forces the other person to reflect on what they just said. Most arguments spiral out of control because both sides keep feeding them. One harsh word leads to another. Defensiveness turns into anger. Pride makes it impossible to back down. But if one person chooses silence, the cycle is broken. Why the Stoics chose silence over anger? The Stoics believe that true strength is not found in overpowering others, but in mastering oneself. They saw anger as a test. Not how loud you can be, but how much control you have over your own emotions. Epictetus taught that it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. He believed that external events, including the words of others, do not have power over you unless you allow them to. Seneca advised that when anger begins to rise, the best thing you can do is pause, to let the first wave of emotion pass before speaking, to give yourself time to think. Because once words leave your mouth, they can never be taken back. How to use Stoic silence in moments of anger. Pause before you speak. When you feel anger rising, do not respond immediately. Take a deep breath. Allow space between emotion and reaction. Ask yourself, will this matter later? Most arguments, when viewed from a distance, are unimportant. Will this still be worth fighting over in a day, a week, a year? Control what you can, your own reaction. You cannot control what others say. You cannot control their anger, but you can control yourself. Let silence speak for you. A calm, measured silence often carries more weight than words spoken in anger. It shows discipline, wisdom, and strength, the ultimate advantage of silence. In any conflict, the person who remains calm holds the power. The one who does not allow anger to dictate their words is the one in control. While others shout, you remain steady. While others react, you observe. Because in the end, the words you do not say in anger will always be more powerful than the ones you do. Number 6, when false rumors spread about you. Rumors are a weapon that require only one thing to thrive: attention. They spread quickly, fueled by speculation, exaggeration, and misunderstanding. When someone speaks falsely about you, the instinctive reaction is to defend yourself, to set the record straight, to fight back with words. But often, the most powerful response is silence. A false rumor only holds power if you give it credibility. When you react with anger or desperation, you confirm the idea that there is something to defend. But when you remain silent, when you refuse to engage, you take away the very thing that gives a rumor strength, your reaction. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, understood this well. He wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." When someone spreads lies about you, they expect resistance. They expect you to fight back, to argue, to defend yourself in a way that only fuels the controversy. But when you do not respond, when you do not lower yourself to their level, you take away their ability to control you. The power of silence against rumors. History has seen many great leaders attacked by false accusations. Some tried to fight back with words, but others took a different path, choosing silence, choosing to let their actions speak louder than any lie ever could. One of the most powerful examples is Nelson Mandela. Throughout his life, he faced slander, false accusations, and deliberate attempts to destroy his reputation. But instead of responding to every rumor, instead of wasting energy on words, he focused on his mission. He did not allow the opinions of others to dictate his actions. Over time, the truth became clear, not because he argued for it, but because he lived it. The Stoics believe that character is stronger than reputation. Your reputation is what people say about you. Your character is who you truly are. And in the end, it is character that stands the test of time. How to use silence to overcome rumors. Do not engage. A false rumor only lasts as long as it is being discussed. If you refuse to participate, it will fade on its own. Let your actions speak. The best way to prove a lie wrong is not with words, but with consistent, honorable behavior. Trust time to reveal the truth. People may believe a lie in the moment, but time exposes what is real. Stay focused on what matters. Do not let distractions pull you away from your true path. A rumor cannot stop someone who refuses to be affected by it. Why Stoics choose silence over defense? A person who knows the truth does not need to argue for it. A person who has confidence in their actions does not need to convince others. The more you try to prove yourself, the more you give power to the lie. But when you remain silent, when you refuse to let false words define you, the truth eventually rises on its own. In the end, a reputation built on words can be destroyed by words. But a life built on integrity will always outlast the voices that try to bring it down. Number 5, when you are dealing with loss. Loss is one of the most difficult experiences in life. Whether it is the passing of a loved one, the end of a relationship, or the disappearance of something once cherished, grief is inevitable. In these moments, the world feels different. Time slows down. Words from others, no matter how well-intended, often feel empty. And in the midst of this pain, silence becomes both a refuge and a guide. The noise of the world does not heal grief. Distractions may delay it, but they do not remove it. True healing comes not from avoiding the pain, but from allowing yourself to fully experience it. And silence provides a space to do so. C.S. Lewis, the great writer and philosopher, deeply understood the weight of loss. After the passing of his wife, he wrote A Grief Observed, a book where he reflected on the pain of losing someone he loved. He described grief as an experience that does not need explanation or conversation. It simply exists. It is not something to be fixed, but something to be lived through. In one of his most profound reflections, he wrote, "The pain I feel now is a happiness I had before. That's the deal." His words remind us that grief is not the opposite of love. It is proof of it. The depth of sorrow is a reflection of the depth of connection. The role of silence in processing loss. Silence allows space for emotions to settle, for thoughts to form, and for memories to take their place in our hearts. It offers a moment of stillness in a time of chaos. When facing loss, people often search for meaning. They ask why. They try to make sense of something that feels impossible to understand. But sometimes, meaning is not found in answers. It is found in acceptance. And acceptance comes not through words, but through quiet reflection. The Stoics believed in facing reality as it is, not as we wish it to be. They taught that everything in life is temporary, including life itself. While this truth may seem harsh, it also carries a lesson. Since everything is fleeting, we must fully appreciate what we have while it is here. How silence helps in times of loss. It creates space for reflection. Words often feel inadequate in moments of grief. Silence allows for personal understanding. It reduces the pressure to move on quickly. Grief has no deadline. Silence lets you process emotions without rushing. It allows for a deeper connection with what was lost. Instead of avoiding the pain, silence lets you honor the memories. It leads to acceptance. The mind needs quiet to adjust to change. In silence, healing begins, finding strength in stillness. When dealing with loss, many look outward for comfort. They seek distractions, conversations, anything to fill the empty space. But the greatest healing often comes from within. Silence is not the absence of love. It is a space where love continues to exist beyond words, beyond time. It is where we come to terms with what was and where we learn to carry it forward. Because some things are not meant to be explained. They are meant to be felt, embraced, and, in time, understood. Number 4. When confronted with ignorance and stubbornness. There are moments when logic, reason, and evidence do not matter. Some people do not listen to understand. They listen only to argue. No matter how clearly the truth is presented, they refuse to see it. They are not seeking knowledge or wisdom. They are seeking validation of what they already believe. In these moments, engaging in debate is a waste of energy. It does not lead to learning. It does not lead to progress. It only leads to frustration. Arguing with someone who refuses to listen is like speaking to a wall. No matter how strong your case is, no matter how obvious the truth may be, they will not hear it. Wise silence is the best response. Epictetus, the great Stoic philosopher, warned, "If someone tries to humiliate you, know that they are only revealing their own character." A person who clings to ignorance and refuses to listen is not protecting truth. They are protecting their ego. Their pride blinds them, making them unwilling to consider any perspective other than their own. Arguing with them will not change their mind. In fact, it may only make them dig in deeper. Instead of being open to reason, they become more defensive, more stubborn, more determined to reject what they do not want to accept. The story of Galileo, a lesson in Stoic silence. History provides a powerful example of this. Galileo Galilei, one of the greatest scientific minds, discovered that the earth revolved around the sun. But in his time, this idea went against the teachings of powerful institutions. Instead of considering the possibility that they were wrong, these institutions condemned Galileo. They labeled him a heretic. They demanded that he take back his words. Galileo had two choices: fight against those who refuse to listen, or remain silent and let time prove him right. He chose silence. He publicly withdrew his claims, but history recorded his truth. Decades later, the world accepted what he had known all along. His silence was not weakness. It was patience. It was wisdom. It was an understanding that truth does not need to be shouted. It endures. Wise Stoics choose silence over argument. Ignorance cannot be defeated by words. If someone is unwilling to listen, no amount of reasoning will change their mind. Silence protects your energy. Engaging in pointless debates drains time and mental clarity. Truth does not need to be defended. Reality remains the same whether people accept it or not. Time will reveal what is true. Your actions speak louder. Instead of arguing, lead by example. Show wisdom through behavior, not through endless discussion. How to apply Stoic silence in these situations. When confronted with ignorance, pause before responding. Ask yourself, is this person open to learning, or are they only arguing to protect their ego? If they are not willing to listen, your words will be wasted. Choose silence instead. Do not let the stubbornness of others pull you into meaningless battles. Do not try to convince those who do not want to understand. Truth remains, even when ignored. And those who refuse to see it today may one day realize it on their own. Because sometimes the strongest response is no response at all. Number 3, when rumors and gossip surround you. Rumors spread like wildfire. A single whisper turns into a conversation. A conversation turns into a story. And before long, something that may not even be true becomes accepted as fact. When you become the target of rumors, the natural reaction is to defend yourself, to explain, to confront those responsible. But the more you engage, the more power you give to the rumor. The more you react, the more attention it receives. Gossip thrives on response. Without it, it fades. Wise silence is the best weapon against gossip. A wise leader understands this. They do not waste time chasing every lie, correcting every misunderstanding, or fighting every false story. Instead, they let their actions speak. They know that reputation is not built through arguments. It is built through consistency. If you are constantly defending yourself, constantly explaining, constantly try to control what others say about you, you are giving away your power. You are allowing others to dictate your energy, your focus, your peace of mind. But when you choose silence, when you refuse to engage in gossip, you send a powerful message. You are not controlled by petty words. You do not need to lower yourself to that level. You stand above it. How great leaders handle intrigue. Throughout history, leaders have faced slander, betrayal, and false accusations. Some have fought back with words, only to find that the battle never ends. Others have taken a different path. They have chosen silence, trusting that time will reveal the truth. A leader who does not engage in gossip rises above it. They do not let petty words distract them from their purpose. They understand that engaging in intrigue makes them part of it. But by staying silent, by refusing to participate, they show strength. Wise Stoics do not respond to gossip. Engagement feeds a fire. The more you defend yourself, the longer the rumor lasts. Your actions speak louder. Over time, what you do will matter more than what others say. Silence commands respect. People take notice when you do not lower yourself to petty disputes. Truth needs no defense. Lies may spread, but the truth remains unchanged. The power of silent reputation. Reputation is not built on words. It is built on action, on consistency, on the way you live each day. The people who matter will judge you by what you do, not by what others say about you. When faced with rumors, ask yourself, does this truly need my response, or will silence be the stronger answer? In most cases, the wisest move is to let the words fade into nothingness. When you refuse to react, you take away the one thing rumors need to survive: attention. And when there is no reaction, when there is no energy given to them, they die on their own. Because in the end, what you do in silence builds your reputation more than any response ever could. Number 2, when you face injustice. Injustice is one of the most difficult challenges to endure. When you are treated unfairly, when your rights are ignored, when the world seems blind to the truth, the natural reaction is to fight back, to argue, to shout until someone listens. But the Stoics understood something deeper. They knew that sometimes the loudest voice is not the one that speaks, but the one that remains silent with purpose. Silence, when used strategically, can be a powerful form of protest. It can speak louder than words, exposing injustice without fueling conflict. Epictetus, the great Stoic philosopher, taught, endure and resist. This does not mean surrender. It means standing firm in the face of adversity. It means maintaining your dignity and self-control when the world challenges you. The power of silent resistance. History provides one of the greatest examples of this. Mahatma Gandhi. Gandhi led India's struggle for independence not through violence, not through anger, but through silent resistance. He understood that words could be twisted, that violence would only justify oppression. But silence, when combined with unwavering action, could not be ignored. He led peaceful protests, endured imprisonment without resistance, and refused to answer hatred with hatred. His silence was not weakness. It was strength. It forced the world to recognize the injustice without him needing to shout it. It made the oppressors reveal their own cruelty, while he remained unshaken. And in the end, it was his silence, his patience, his endurance that won the battle. Wise silence is a weapon against injustice. It denies power to the oppressor. Those who act unjustly seek a reaction. When you do not respond in anger, you take away their control. It forces others to see the truth. Silence can expose injustice in a way that words never could. It preserves your inner strength. By not wasting energy on arguments, you maintain clarity and purpose. It shifts the power dynamic. When you do not engage, those who commit injustice are left to justify their own actions. How to use silence as a form of strength. Do not react emotionally when facing injustice. Remain calm. Let your silence unsettle those who expect anger. Let your actions speak. Words can be ignored, but actions, especially silent, unwavering defiance, are undeniable. Understand that justice prevails over time. Many of history's greatest injustices were eventually overturned, not through endless arguments, but through persistence and discipline. Resist without losing yourself. Injustice seeks to break your spirit. Silence is a way to protect your inner peace while continuing the fight. The strength of the silent warrior. In a world that demands reaction, silence can be the most powerful response. It does not mean accepting injustice. It means refusing to let it control you. When words fail, when arguments do nothing, when the world does not listen, remember this. Silence does not mean weakness. It means discipline. It means strategy. It means power. Number 1, when you are insulted, insults are designed to provoke a reaction. They are meant to make you feel angry, to pull you into an argument, to force you to defend yourself. But what happens when you do not react? The moment you refuse to respond, the insult loses its power. It no longer serves its purpose. The person who threw the insult expects resistance, expects you to fight back. But when you remain silent, when you show no reaction, you leave them with nothing. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic emperor, wrote, "If something external hurts you, it is not the event itself that causes pain, but your interpretation of it." This means that words only have meaning if you allow them to. Insults only hurt if you accept them as truth. How great figures handled insults. History is filled with examples of powerful figures who faced insults but chose not to react. Instead of defending themselves with words, they responded with silence, with action, with complete indifference to the opinions of others. Socrates, one of the wisest philosophers of all time, was insulted and mocked throughout his life. People called him foolish, accused him of corrupting the youth, and questioned his intelligence. But instead of arguing, he responded with calmness. He refused to let their words affect him. Mahatma Gandhi faced constant verbal attacks from critics and political enemies. But instead of responding in anger, he remained silent. He knew that engaging in petty arguments would only distract from his mission. His silence showed strength, not weakness. These figures understood a fundamental truth. Insults say more about the person speaking them than the person receiving them. Those who insult others reveal their own character, their own insecurities, their own weaknesses. Why Stoics do not react to insults? An insult only has power if you accept it. If you do not react, the insult fades into nothing. Silence frustrates those who seek a reaction. When you do not engage, the person insulting you loses their power. Your energy is too valuable for meaningless arguments. Engaging in verbal battles serves no purpose. Your actions define you, not the words of others. Let your character, not your responses, speak for who you are. How to apply Stoic silence when insulted. Pause before reacting. When someone insults you, take a breath. Do not let your emotions dictate your response. Ask yourself, does this insult change who I am? If the words are untrue, they mean nothing. If they are true, you can learn from them without reacting emotionally. Let silence be your response. A person who does not react to insults holds more power than the one who throws them. Stay focused on what matters. Do not let small words pull you away from bigger goals. Mastering the art of indifference. Not every battle is worth fighting. Not every attack requires a response. The greatest strength lies in the ability to remain unshaken in the face of provocation. Because in the end, the insult is only as powerful as the reaction it provokes. You made it to the end, and now I have something special for you. A bonus lesson. One that few people ever truly master, but that can change the way you handle conflict, criticism, and even your own emotions. This is the golden rule of Stoic silence, a simple but powerful principle that can help you navigate life with more confidence, wisdom, and inner peace. Most people think of silence as just the absence of words, but the Stoics saw it differently. Silence is not weakness. It is control. It is a deliberate choice, a strategy that allows you to rise above arguments, insults, and unnecessary drama. Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." How many times have you felt the urge to defend yourself, to argue, to prove someone wrong? But in reality, most conflicts fade when met with silence. Most insults lose their sting when ignored. Most battles are won not by fighting, but by refusing to engage in the first place. One of the greatest examples of this comes from Cato the Younger, a Roman statesman known for his honesty and self-discipline. Cato lived in a time of corruption, surrounded by powerful enemies who tried to bring him down. They spread rumors. They insulted him. They tried to provoke him, hoping he would react emotionally and damage his own reputation. But Cato never played their game. He never responded to false accusations. He never defended himself against empty words. Instead, he let his actions speak for him. One day, an opponent publicly accused him of crimes he had never committed. A crowd gathered, expecting a heated response. But Cato simply turned and walked away. His silence said more than any argument ever could. And in the end, history remembered him as a man of integrity, while his accusers were forgotten. How you can apply this rule in your own life. Not every battle is worth fighting. Some arguments only drain your energy. Learn to walk away. Your actions will always be stronger than your words. Let your character speak for itself. Time reveals the truth. The people who spread lies and drama will expose themselves eventually. Self-control is real power. The person who can control their reaction controls the situation. Life is full of noise. People rush to speak, to react, to prove themselves. But the one who can remain silent in the right moments, the one who does not let emotions dictate their actions, holds the real power. Because sometimes the strongest thing you can say is nothing at all. You've now seen the power of silence, not as weakness, but as strength, not as avoidance, but as control. The ability to remain silent in the right moments is a skill that few master. But those who do hold an advantage in every area of life. Let's quickly recap the 10 moments when silence is your greatest weapon. When you are insulted, if you do not react, the insult loses all power. When you face injustice, strategic silence can be a powerful form of resistance. When rumors and gossip surround you, responding only gives them life. Silence makes them fade. When confronted with ignorance and stubbornness, some arguments are not worth your time. When you are dealing with loss, true healing happens in silence, not in noise. When false accusations spread, time will reveal the truth. No defense is needed. When you are angry, words spoken in anger often lead to regret. When you encounter arrogance, silence deflates the need for validation. When you face unfair criticism, let your actions, not your words, prove your worth. The golden rule of silence. The wisest people speak less and observe more. The Stoics understood one simple truth. You cannot control others, but you can always control your response. And in many cases, the most powerful response is no response at all. Marcus Aurelius said, "Do not waste words on those who do not listen. Use silence to show your wisdom." Now it's your turn. Which of these situations do you face most in your life? Where do you struggle the most to stay silent? Comment below. Let's learn from each other. And if you want to master Stoic wisdom, control your emotions, and live with more clarity and power, subscribe now and turn on notifications. The journey to self-mastery is just beginning. The power of silence is in your hands. Use it, master it, and let it transform your life.